Good evening and welcome. My name is Gitel Ruiz Nicholas, and I will be your host for the GRN show. The tax season is upon us, and a significant number of working individuals and families look forward to their income tax returns. During COVID, there were many tax advantages, especially for those with children. But this year, there are many changes. So our intent today is to provide you with information about what to expect, as well as share resources that are available to you. We have with us two experts from Community Access Center. And when you hear me say CAC, I'm really referring to Community Access Center. It is a local agency that offers many programs. And this time of year, they are providing tax services at no cost to individuals who qualify and to families who qualify. So we have with us Jackie Arnoux. She's a Chief Operations Officer for CAC, and she oversees the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, which we will refer to as VITA. We also have Jean Marie Olivier, a well-known accountant in the community and a site coordinator for the VITA program working with CAC. So guys, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Gitel. Thank you for the introduction. I want to say thank you to your auditors, your viewers, for the invitation. I'm here to represent Community Access Center. As you said, I am a co-founder and also the Chief Operating Officer, Vice President of Community Access Center, located in Miramar, in Broward County, I should say.
Excellent, excellent. Jean Marie, a brief introduction about yourself. I know you're all over the place doing accounting work.
Thank you very much, Gail. Thank you, Jacqueline. It is an honor to be on your show as you introduced me as the accountant in the community. Yeah, I've been around for, I would say, for the last 25 years or so. Without telling my age, but it is well appreciated to be involved with VITA, which stands for Voluntary Income Tax Assistance. I'm also an instructor. That's one of the things that I've been enjoying. I would say for the last 5 years, helping others to understand the beauty of taxation. I know some of us get afraid to when we hear the word IRS or internal revenue. We all panic. Once upon a time I used to panic, but as I find out, it is interesting as we deal with the intricacies of the tax structure. It is fun. To be a part of it, and it is fun to work with Community Access Center and to be a part of the VITA team as I'm a site coordinator up in Pompano, which is the location is EPAC Lockins. A lot of people that are familiar with Pompano will know where EPAC Lockins is. It's on Martin Luther King Boulevard. So there are specific days that we are there. We are very happy to be a part of it. So really,
it's interesting, Jean Marie. You mentioned that a lot of people, kind of get tense a little bit or uncomfortable when they hear about taxes. And just recently, what's his name? Eddie Murphy was accepting an award. And one of the advice he gave to the up-and-comers, the new actors, he says, stay focused, mind your business, and pay your taxes. That was the advice that he gave. And I thought it was very funny because it's true, a lot of people don't understand the consequences, but we're going to get into that. But I kind of want Jackie to talk a little bit about, Community Access Center, and then why is this such an important program that it offers to the community and the clients that they serve?
Thank you, Gitel. I would honestly say that Community Access Center was founded with the option to help the community at large, not only the Haitian, focusing on the Haitian community, but helping everyone, the Caribbean community, helping them with their needs, social needs. We've started in 2010, and it's been actually 12 years. And we still have our office in Miramar, even though COVID put a damper on things as far as grant opportunities, but we are still working. We're partnering with, of course, Hispanic Unity and Children's Services Council and other organization in Broward County as a collaborative effort for VITA, for the VITA program. We are working with Children's Services Council on a after-school program. We are working with the city of Miramar with as far as the gun violence. We are involved in the community. We are educating. We are assisting. Our elderly luncheon we used to have, we no longer have it because of COVID. Although it is better, but it's still there, and we have to be careful with our elderlies, even
Yes.
ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves. I work remotely a lot of time, but during tax season, I will be working with you in person. We have 2 sites in the collaborative effort with Hispanic Unity. We have 16 sites altogether, but there are 2 that are for Community Access Center. The EPAT Larkins in Pompano, which Jean Marie just cited, and we're gonna be at the Miramar Branch Library in on Civic Center in Miramar, the main office. They have given at the library, they give us a large room where we can entertain many taxpayers. It's please do come and not only get the education, but also to come and file your taxes.
Mm-hmm. It's a great service, and I love the fact that you have a site in areas that are full of Caribbeans and immigrants. Pompano, you have Brazilians, you have the Haitians, people who are newcomers, who are very new to filing taxes, and of course Miramar. So it's great, people have those 2 sites. But let's get into the crux of the matter, which is taxes. Jean Marie, tell us a little bit about who should file taxes and what are the consequences if they do not file their taxes.
Well, thank you, Vital. It is very important that we all get to understand taxes is so embedded in what we do, what we need to acquire. I would say to someone that do not find taxes, they will find it is very important when they decide to buy a car, when they decide to buy a home, when they decide to send their children to college or university. So taxes, as someone mentioned to me the other day, it's like your birth certificate or your passport. So you need it to do that. And it is a way of saying to the world, I'm a citizen and I'm paying my dues. I'm a part of the fabric of the community. For the VITA program, we do not do everyone taxes for free because there's a guideline for the VITA program. As long as you make, I believe, below, every year they up the ante, I believe below $55,000.
66. This year it is 66,000.
66,000. Okay, great. Thank you. But the thing is, those requirement is that they don't want someone to make $100,000 and work for VITA. VITA mostly is to help the low income, the middle class that, you know, you could find a middle class that making $60,000 and have 4 kids, 4 children, and it is a strain on them. It is to help the ones that are less fortunate, that they cannot pay the $150 and the $200 to pay for their return. Another thing that I find out, the reason of one of the purpose that I've noticed the Internal Revenue Service really fund this program is to curb, you would say, all the wrongdoings that are being done, believe it or not, by other tax preparers, because they do rip off the clients of
Yes,
their tax
yes.
refunds. They charge them excessive amount of money, you know, and you get to hear lots of stories. And the Internal Revenue Service, as far as ID theft, which is identification theft, through those clients when they file their taxes, and you know, for the submitted fees that other people charge them, it is a peace of mind for a client that want to do their tax in a safe environment, in a safe place, knowing that their information will not be compromised. And it is mostly important that you find a VITA site to help you do your taxes, because VITA is very restricted in doing taxes for their clients. Make sure that their information are not being compromised. And for the clients, we urge you to come and do your taxes, because it is a part of your fabric, of the community's fabric, that you will find yourself, you will need it as you go further in life. For those that are the procrastinators, they don't want to do their taxes, well, they may find themselves paying some fines. So that is not a good way to do business with.
You know, I think it's important that people understand how safe they are when they come to VITA, you know, site. So Jackie, perhaps you could talk a little bit about the process. Who does the taxes and what is the process? I understand they must go through a background check, please, and then they have to be certified.
Correct. I will, before I go into the process, I'd like to make another, as Jean Marie stated, when you asked the importance of doing taxes. Right now, we know that President Biden has opened the door for the diaspora to bring in their family members, their relatives. And one of the requirements is your tax return, which is a transcript. So by doing your taxes yearly, whether your income is high or not, it is important. You have children, report what you do on a yearly basis, because those documents will help you receive what opportunities are available. Okay, now thank you. To answer the question as far as what are the criteria that needs to be met, in order for you to be a VITA assistant or helper or to prepare taxes. It is somewhat extensive because you have to attend classes. As Jean Marie just mentioned, he is an instructor for the VITA program. You must, it's through the IRS program. You must have a background check to make sure that everything is on the up and up. You must pass exams. We have the conduct. Yeah, we have to make sure that your mindset is right, and there are certain questions, or there are certain processes that you need to comply with. Okay, there is working with the individual, learning how to behave, how to talk, how to express yourself, how to communicate with the taxpayers that are coming in, and how you view them. You're gonna find them at all different levels, meaning that Caribbean, different cultures, we have to adapt to everybody's culture and treat them with respect. And what's more important is you have to pass the exam. If you do not, you cannot help anyone, as well as getting a background check. Yes, if you've had any run-in with the law or any problems, even if it's pending, it hasn't been, you're innocent but haven't been found guilty, but the background check does identify you in violation, you will not be able to work with the organizations helping the individuals file their taxes.
Thank you for that. And that's really the point I wanted to drive home. Going to a VITA site to get your taxes, you are safe. You don't have to worry about identity theft. You're dealing with experts who've had to go through extensive training with the IRS and understand all of the intricacies of people filing, their status, etc. So again, going to VITA site is it's a great opportunity. I have to share a story with you. There was this tax preparer who obviously would prepare taxes for individuals, and he would say, "No, you don't have to pay. No, you don't have to pay." So what happened? The taxes would come to him, the returns would come to him, and he would disperse. Find out, people were being charged $500, $1,000 for simple tax return. People didn't care. They're receiving $2,000, $3,000. They think they're getting something, but in reality, they were being overcharged for their, to file their tax returns. So I want our community to be very careful of that and to really ask the tax preparer, if you don't come to VITA, how much are you charging me? Can I pay you in advance to prevent that? So we're going to take a short break. We will be right back.
Community Access Center ta yon fò sonje ke men ak partner li yo li kapab fil taxou depi income ou moins passé $66,000 ou kapab qualifié pour fil taxou gratis si chéri sans payer un good. Sorti journée jodi pour rive 15 avril 2023, il y a plusieurs locations pour fil taxou gratis si chéri grâce à Borrowed Tax Pro Coalition. Dans Pat Lawkins Community Center qui est dans Pompano Beach, Florida, tous les mercredis et tous les vendredis, et puis tout dans Miramar Branch Library. Pour fil taxe gratis, c'est important pour réunir quelques documents pour rendez-vous, tant que identification légale, d'abord tout forme, carte sécurité sociale, bank statement, copie taxe année passée. Pour fil taxe gratis, depuis income en bas $66,000, il y a des Community Access Center dans 954 534 91 13 ou carré tout dans 954 357 81 80 ou bien 754 999 0309. Fil taxe gratis depuis income en bas $66,000. C'est un courtoisie Community Access Center, mais avec Borrowed Tax Pro Coalition.
We are back and we have with us Jackie Arnoux, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Community Access Center, and Jean Marie Olivier, who is an accountant and a site coordinator and instructor for the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, which is a program we're talking about. It's one of the resources that is available to you for free. So I'm going to ask you, Jackie, considering we have a lot of Caribbeans, a lot of Haitians watching this show. The first part of the question is, can a non-US citizen or somebody who's on TPS, can they file taxes? The other thing is, do we have a VITA program throughout the country?
Yes, to answer your question, yes to both. For the non-US, as long as someone has a Social Security, we can help them file their taxes. Yes, of course, there are stipulations We will go over how long they've lived here, how long they've come, etc., to for them to meet certain criteria for credits. But they can file their taxes with a Social Security card. Currently, with the influx of immigrants coming in and receiving permit to work and not having a Social Security card, they can apply for an I-10, which is a W-7. With those, the taxpayers can file taxes, but their taxes cannot be done electronically. It has to be mailed with a copy of the W-7, which is the I-10. We just received training on that from the program, for the VITA program, and it's something that's a pilot that we are considering helping people. Before, people would go to other sites where it's very expensive to do, with the understanding that even though we do the taxes and we fill out the I-10, W-7, they still have to pay a CAA, Certified Enrollment Agent, to verify that the documents that they've given us is correct, as far as their license, their passport, etc. Right. And the second part of the question is, remind me again, Gitel?
Yes. Obviously, we're in Florida, and my question is, if I live in San Francisco, if I live in New York, are there similar programs that are helping the community and providing those services at no cost to them?
Yes, it is an IRS grant that you apply for. IRS is all over the 50 states, and there are offices that will, if they apply and they qualify, they will be able to provide that VITA assistance to all members, all residents in the United States. For the state of Florida, we do not pay state taxes in Florida. We only pay federal taxes. Therefore, if someone comes in and lives in New York and wants to file their taxes in Florida, only the federal can be done, not the state, because we don't have the access to do the state in our database that IRS has given us, the program. But we highly recommend that they do go to New York and get their taxes done for free, or they may go to a paid preparer and pay the fees to get it done.
Got it. Got it. Great, great answer. So, you know, Jean Marie, it's always been an issue, you know, where people are filing and really don't understand the different status that they can, you know, file under. And obviously, you know, they will be relying on the expert filing their taxes. But I do want people to understand a little bit about what do their status as a taxpayer, you know, what are the differences in them, and why is it important for them to know where they fall?
Well, thank you for that question. The Internal Revenue Service only has 5 separate categories of a status of a citizen. You're either single or you're married. If you're married, you file out with your spouse, or you could file married filing separately, which is legally done. You know, and that is also for tax savings. People that are, I would say, have different assets among them, and they decide to file their taxes separately, but they're telling the IRS that they are married, but they rather file separately because they don't want their problem or their trouble if they owe the income tax or if they owe some money to follow their spouse. And that's, you know, one of the purpose why people that are married and decide to file separately. And you do find people that are single family home head homeowners. It could be a man or a woman. They are the breadwinners, and they're taking care of the dependents. The dependents could be their child, their children, or it could be a member of the family, a cousin, and mom and dad, or whoever it may be. That would be what they call a head of household. And of course, the last of the status would be when either spouse passes away. they have that status of widower that they can claim. But it is very important. One of the a lot of things that you will find, especially within the status, is when you find a couple, let's say, they could have 2, 3, or 4 children, and they decide, well, I'm not married, you know. They say, well, you know, I'm not married, but I want to file my taxes. One take 2 kids and the other one take 2 kids. When that happens, that creates a problem for the Internal Revenue, because although you could not be legally married, but you cannot decide this and living in a house together for maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and you decide to file taxes with different addresses and separate the kids, that create a fraudulent idea in front of the Internal Revenue Service. And at times I have to tell them, you know, although you're not legally married, it seems that you're married. You have 3 kids, you've been living in the house for 10 years together. Well, it seems to me, you know, in front of the Internal Revenue Service, they will look at it as a couple being married.
Got it.
In the same household, and the same, you know, the same address. That's where they've been for the last 10 years, and they have kids after kids after kids. So they cannot separate the kids for monetary purposes.
Got it.
They intends to give different addresses. That's kind of a fraudulent idea in front of the Internal Revenue Service. So that's in a nutshell of the status, and of course, pay as less taxes as you can legally.
Yes, that's one organization you don't mess with, because they will find out. You know, I think you mentioned something I want to reiterate. Many of us, you know, we have elderly parents. Sometimes we're responsible for 50% of their living expenses, although they themselves may collect a small amount of Social Security, you know, especially if they didn't have you know, making a lot of money before. They weren't making a lot of money. So yeah, as long as you cover 50% of their expenses, you can claim your mom or your dad.
Yes.
Can you claim an aunt who's elderly and lives with you, Jean Marie?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
The purpose is, well, the requirement is, as you mentioned, the 50% cost. You know, once you provide more, you know, 50% and above, you know, and the person truly lives with you in your household, you're taking care of them, and of course that gives you the requirement. If you were single, you could enjoy the status of being a head of household in front of the government, because those requirements, they're living with you and you're providing the support over half of it, then that kind of, basically in a nutshell, do that, you know, giving you that opportunity to change your status from single to head of household. I don't know if Jacqueline wanted to add anything else.
Jean Marie, if you can add to your statement as far as the taxpayers here living in the US and taking care of their parents in Mexico or in Canada or elsewhere, how they can claim them as well.
Well, I didn't know that.
That is very good. That is very good to mention. You know, if you would have been if someone would be under audit with that requirement, it's basically to prove that you are supporting more than half. Let's say, of course, a lot of us, we have our parents, could be in the island of Haiti, or you mentioned Mexico or Panama. But the thing is proving that you're the one paying the condo in Panama, and not your parents paying it. But, you know, a lot of us do that by our parents to be out in Haiti, and they're collecting Social Security, and we enjoy the changing of the status from single, if we are, into head of household. But one remark that I can say, if you get, you know, audited, is to prove that you're the one supporting over half of the cost, or wherever mom or dad or grandma or cousin is, you're the one that provide the support. I've seen a lot of people, they have to show their Western Union receipts.
Yes.
They send papers, I sent $100. Yeah, all that will add up, but you need to prove that you provide more than half of their support. That's the most important thing.
Yes, correct. And that only applies for parents, only for parents. It doesn't apply for cousins or other relatives that you're taking care of in Haiti or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Wow, this is something interesting I was not aware of. I think that's great. I think, but it's also important for people to understand, keep your receipts, because if you're audited, you have to show proof. So it's all about having the substantive documentation to show that you're doing that, because obviously, I guess you can pretty much run into trouble. But another thing that has become very, very popular, and it's a shame, people, my sister a few years back never received her tax returns and find out somebody had already filed under her name. I don't know how that happens, and how can one prevent that from happening if they can?
Well, this is one of the biggest headache of the Internal Revenue Service is the identification theft.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say for the last 10, 15 years, and that is one of the, you would say, pressure cooker for the VITA volunteers, for everyone that deal in VITA. And that is one of the biggest requirements, because anyone that walks through VITA, they have, you have the greeter that will greet the person, and they will go through a thorough background check in a way of showing their ID or showing the social. We don't take nothing for granted. Even if you had been doing your taxes for the last 5 years or 10 years with a VITA site, you have to come with your picture ID that is not expired. You have to have not a number written down with your social security number. No. You gotta have the actual card. If you want your money to be deposited in a bank account, we need a real check. We need to see your name posted, and with that address, if we could emphasize on that, because identification theft, because people do steal other people's identity. They steal their children's social. That could happen through a hospital, that could happen through a school. Someone get to see your information, and they sold that information on the black market. So it is imperative that anyone that comes to a VITA site, we will check them out, because they want the community, and that's the purpose of the Internal Revenue Service. They want you to be safe when you walk in, thinking that no one will misuse your information. And as Jackie mentioned, if you have running with the law and they notice that you had some problem, they will, the IRS, they will not take that lightly. You know what I mean? And it's very important, is because ID theft is, if not the number one issue, I believe it is close to be the number one headache for the Internal Revenue Service. And one of the things, because let's say someone, as you mentioned, find that they filed their taxes already, guess what? The IRS still has to, the rightful owner still get their refund, even though the IRS lost maybe $8,000 or $10,000 to this bad transaction that happened. You see, and the Internal Revenue Department does not take that lightly.
Great.
And this is one of the reasons as well why not only are we thorough with the reviews of the documents before we file a tax, but we're also informing everybody that when you do your taxes at the VITA sites, they know how thorough we are. Your taxes will go through a lot faster. Perfect example, We opened Pat Larkin's last Tuesday, actually, the 24th of February. I go there yesterday, which was a week later. My first client walked up to me to tell me, hey, I went to the bank this morning and my check is already there. So they say within 10 to 30 days, actually it was 7 days, they understand at the VITA site, there is no room for error. Again, to err is human. I don't say no, but we work so diligently and so hard at our sites that the error is minimal and you do get your refund. It's less scrutinized by the IRS because they know what they teach. They know the certificate that we receive is being used accordingly. So,
it's interesting.
Yes, it is very important of that, to be open starting, the first week since 24th of January. It is nice to know that, the client will get their refund right away, especially when you deal with a VITA assistance. Then knowing that it is a free program provided by the Internal Revenue Service, and solely to make sure that the community is in a safe environment, make sure that their taxes are done properly and it is done right with no malicious intent, okay? And everything goes smoothly, as Jacqueline says.
However, if you are filing with children, it's going to take a little bit longer, maybe 2 weeks later, because they have to make sure that earned income credit is applied accordingly. And the children are indeed yours or it's family members. They do they go back to previous returns to see what's going on before they issue that check. So if you filing head of the household with children, it's going to delay a little bit longer. You may not get it in 7 to 10 days, but maybe in 15 to 30 days.
Thank you, you would say.
I think that is great. And just quickly, any last words? And then something else I wanted to address, the program is called Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. So Jackie, maybe this year may not be possible. Are you looking for volunteers? This is a program driven by volunteers. Am I not correct?
That is correct. We are IRS and of course the collaborative effort in Broward Tax Pro are always looking for volunteers. And that volunteerism, once you learn and you trained, it can turn into a position. It could turn into a part-time job or it's only doing tax season. Of course, it's from January through maybe June, because we extend it sometimes for people who have amendment. But it is a 6-month program versus a year, a 12 months pay. But yes, we are looking, you start as a volunteer if it's your first or second year, and gradually you could be a paid greeter, you could be a paid tax preparer, and so on, and up to being a site coordinator.
That's great. That's great.
I'm glad that you talked about the volunteer thing. One thing that I don't want someone that, probably will listen to us and think, well, it's only volunteers. No. And that is what the requirement is, to have some experts along with the volunteers, working with them. I myself as a site coordinator, sometimes, I enjoy it, although with my 20+ years experience in taxation, I enjoy teaching the volunteers, and I also tell them this could turn into a very well-paid career. Because taxes is wide open. It's not don't think that it's just going to be volunteer only in a site. You'll be surprised to find someone that could be involved as a certified public accountant or an annual agent that have very well-versed knowledge in taxation that supervise the volunteers. There are many of them, along with the VITA volunteers.
Thank you for clarifying that, Jean-Marie. That is so true, because I also receive a lot of students, accountant students from the colleges that need their internship. They are taking the classes, they are knowledgeable, and they are future accountants, and they do come to volunteer. They're giving their time. It's an internship, but they're also giving their time. As example, Jean-Marie, who is an accountant by trade, he is volunteering, well, somewhat by being the instructor. It is a volunteerism because the pay that an accountant receives, as you help with the VITA program, you reduce your costs, or it's a program that you're there to help because you're passionate about it. So it's not the pay that makes it the volunteer. It's you, the passion that you have, and you want to help your community, and you giving some time at a low cost to the community that you so much love.
Well, that's a great way to end the show. You are helping the community by assisting and volunteering with VITA. And it could be the best of both worlds. It could be whatever stipend you receive, that is something you receive, but at the same time, your passion for serving your community, you're able to do that. So I want to thank both of you, Jean Marie and Jackie. Thank you so much for really, there was a lot of great information shared tonight. And I personally am very grateful for the work that you do in the community and the difference that you make. So thanks again, and keep up the wonderful work that you are doing with the VITA program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation again, Gitel. Everybody can see the passion when it comes to taxes. This is what we are passionate about, helping our community. Whether it's taxes or other services, we are there to help. Please count on us. I want to give, well, on the flyer, I'm sure you will give our phone numbers and address where we can be reached if anyone in the community need to reach out to us directly.
We'll be happy to put that on at the end of the show. We'll put that. Great idea.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gitel, for the invitation. We would not miss it for anything. It is wonderful to be on your show. And VITA, for the middle class and the low income, we welcome you to stop by, especially at EPAT Lockins in Pompano Beach. That's where I'm at.
Well, again, thank you. You have a good evening. And to our viewers, we're going to take a short break.
Community Access Center ta une fois songer que maintenant mais ak partner li capable fil taxe ou depuis income ou moins passé $66,000 ou capable qualifier pour fil taxe gratis si chéri sans payer un good. Sorti journée jeudi pour arriver 15 avril 2023, il y a plusieurs locations pour fil taxe gratis si chéri grâce à Borrowed Tax Pro Coalition. Dans EPAT Lockins Community Center qui est dans Pompano Beach, Florida, tous les mercredis et tous les vendredis, et puis tout dans Miramar Branch Library. Pour fil taxe gratis, c'est important pour réunir quelques documents pour rendez-vous, tant que identification légale, d'abord tout forme, carte sécurité sociale, bank statement, copie taxe année passée. Pour fil taxe gratis, depuis income en bas $66,000, il y a des Community Access Center dans 954 534 91 13 ou carré tout dans 954 357 81 80 ou bien 754 999 0309. Fil taxe gratis depuis income en bas $66,000. C'est un courtoisie Community Access Center, mais nommé avec Borrowed Tax Pro Coalition. Community Access Center ta une fois songer que maintenant mais ak partner li capable fil taxe ou depuis income ou moins passé $66,000 ou capable qualifier pour fil taxe gratis si chéri sans payer un good. Sorti journée jeudi pour arriver 15 avril 2023, il y a plusieurs locations pour fil taxe gratis si chéri grâce à Borrowed Tax Pro Coalition. Dans EPAT Lockins Community Center qui est dans Pompano Beach, Florida, tous les mercredis et tous les vendredis, et puis tout dans Miramar Branch Library. Profil taxe ou gratis est important pour réunir quelques documents pour rendez-vous à pour identification légale, d'abord tout forme, carte sécurité sociale, bank statement, copie taxe ou année passée. Profil taxe ou gratis depuis un commun en bas 66 000 $, Relais Community Access Center dans 954 534 91 13 ou carré les tout dans 954 357 81 80 ou bien 754 999 0309. Fil taxe ou gratis depuis un commun en bas 66 000 $. C'est un courtoisie Community Access Center, mais nommé avec Board Tax Pro Coalition.
The national defense programs for veterans in foreign affairs, and with what we're experiencing in the world, it is money well spent. But the permanent income tax was really created by Abraham Lincoln, and really through a constitution, former President William Taft revived and created this permanent income tax. We don't like to pay taxes, including myself, but I believe our tax dollars do work for us and fund many essential programs. You've heard Jackie, you've heard Jean Marie says, our tax papers really are part of what really allow us to do certain things. For example, when applying for a loan, for example, even financial aid, applying, for your children, applying for financial aid for college, for post-secondary education, you have to show the amount of money you're making. So those are documents that you must retain and ensure that you file on a yearly basis. So for certain, we cannot avoid paying taxes. So with that, I want to wish you a very good night and enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. Good night.